Jimmy Warren. Welcome to the very first episode of Band Business. Now, you might know me from my other podcast, Guitar Talk, where I talk to some of the biggest guitar players from around the world. But, on that show, I get so many emails and messages from guitar players and people in bands that are asking specific questions about being in a band. How do I shop for a label? When do I need a manager? What's the best way to put together a tour? The list goes on and on and on. So I decided to launch this podcast to talk about all the back end business of being a band. We're talking everything from marketing and booking and management and PR and just everything. Putting together the band, rehearsing the band, going out and doing gigs. I mean, you name it, we're going to talk about it. Now, we're going to tell it like it is. We're not going to hold nothing back. We're going to call bullshit, and we're going to put away some myths and some misconceptions and things of that nature. What we want to do is we want to provide you with some great practical information that you can use, that you can weigh with where am I going in my career to determine, how you could use this information to further your career or to develop your career or however you want to word that. This is going to be stuff you can use, right? There's no fluff. Now, from time to time, I'm going to have some guests on this show, but we're talking about people that have been in the industry for a very long time. We're talking about artist managers, PR people, booking agents, lawyers, you name it. We're going to have guys like that on here periodically. But the thing to do is for us to stay focused on talking about how you can handle the business of being a band, because it's amazing to me how much information some people just don't have. There's aspects of all of this that people know nothing about, whether it's in copyright or licensing or, it could be anything. There's a lot of stuff a lot of people don't know. And so we're going to touch on all those topics, and it's going to be cool. It's going to be a lot of fun, and you're going to be able to use this information. It's not just me blabbering, although I enjoy blabbering. So we're going to kick this off with something that I get asked about all the time, and that's, getting gigs. That's booking gigs, touring, that kind of stuff. But I'm going to dial that into something more specific that I think is really important. Now, let's do this. If you're not somebody that is used to sitting down and making plans, really being targeted and intentional and specific in what you're doing, well, you need to do that to some degree because, it's really important to have a game plan on how you want to do things and where you want to go, because there's going to come a time where things are going to be more specific for you, as an artist and as a band. So, we're going to dive in. Here's the topic for the day. The topic is play extensively, then play selectively. You heard me right. Play extensively, then play selectively. Let's dissect that. One of the first things you do, and we're talking about the very, very beginning stages of being a band. Okay, you got the band together. You got all the pieces that you need. Now you're ready to get out there and you're ready to start gigging. Now, you know that you're not going to be able to command huge audiences. You're not going to get big money. You're not going to play, prime rooms and all that kind of stuff in the very beginning. You're going to have to take some time in order to develop yourself, develop your brand, develop your following, and all those other things in order to get to that point. But you're at that point. Let's say you're just starting out. You're just wanting to get out of there. My suggestion, my experience is that you want to play extensively. You want to play as much as you can, exhaustively. You want to play wherever people will have you. Now, I don't suggest playing for nothing in the beginning. Now, I'm not opposed to playing for the door in the beginning, but you never want to set the precedence where you'll play for free or you'll pay somebody to play their venue or their festival or to open up for them. Don't ever do that. I mean, people think that if I pay the Whiskey A Go-Go or some famous venue an amount of money to play there, well, I'm getting to play this historic venue And who knows, somebody might be in the audience. It is the whiskey. And I'm not picking on the Whiskey A Go-Go by any means in that. But the days of somebody happening to be in the audience are pretty much long gone. I mean, that's rare. I mean, it happens, but it's rare. And does it look good to have the Whiskey A Go-Go on your resume? Sure. But you don't want to come out of the gate swinging and paying, people to play and open up for you. I mean, or for you to pay to open up for other people, because there's a lot of artists doing that today. And that's bullshit, because they all fucking forgot where they came from, right? Right? They didn't pay nobody to play for, to open up for them. They had to hustle and work hard in order to get those slots, and I guarantee that if you were to go to one of them, and if they were in your shoes, they're not going to pay to open up for you. I mean, that's bullshit. That's my opinion. That's just my opinion. I know people do it. I know people will pay big bucks to get on big stages, and that's cool, for them. But I don't think that that's a smart move. Now, some people say, well, I get to be in front of their audience, which is a plus. You get the opportunity to open up for the Rolling Stones. That's a pretty massive audience. But let's face the truth. The audience isn't there to see you. They're there to see the Rolling Stones. You might gather a few people out of that audience that are going to pay attention to you. But for the most part, they're not there for you. They might enjoy your music for the moment, but their focus is on the Rolling Stones, right? I think the best thing that comes out of playing in front of an audience like that with a national act like that is the ability to hone your gifts and your talent and your skills in that type of setting. Now you're learning how to develop yourself in that type of setting, which is a long way from just playing a local bar. So I digress. That's a topic for another day. But all I'm saying is that when I say play extensively, I wouldn't suggest paying to play anywhere. People are going to give you this shit about, well, you can play here because it's going to be great, exposure for you. And 99.9% of the time, that's all fucking bullshit too, right? Some people are just trying to give free entertainment. All I'm saying is don't play for free. I mean, make something. Make $100 a man. Make $50 a man. Make something. You know what I mean? Because you don't want people to think that, that you're so unknown that, that you have to play for free. And you may be unknown, but you don't have to play for free. Let's face it. Even local bar bands that are playing, local bars are getting, $100 a man. So you can at least get that. That's all I'm saying. Just don't play for free. If you want to play for the door, that's another thing, and I don't have any problem with that. I think that sometimes that can be a good idea. All I'm saying is that you want to play extensively. You want to play as much as you possibly can, because there's certain things that are going to happen during those times of doing that at that low level. And forgive me for calling it that. I don't mean no disrespect. But when you're at that level, it is the starting place. It is the beginning. And so you want to play as much as you possibly can, because you're going to do several things during that time. One is you're going to be developing yourself as a player. You're going to be developing the band as a whole. The band is going to learn how to interact with one another. They're going to learn how to respond to one another. You're going to start to gel more. Right? Your music's going to start to come alive more the more you do it. You're going to get experience in developing yourself in handling an audience, load-ins, load-outs, dealing with venue owners, all those specific things. Those are things that you're developing in those days. And you have to view it from that way partially. It isn't just about going out and doing a gig because you love to play music, which is cool. If your goal is that I want to play more, I want to tour, even if it's just regionally, or I want to become, we want to try to make it somehow, you have to be conscious of this stuff. The only way you don't have to be conscious of these things is if you're just trying to be a local bar band. and all you care about is Fridays and Saturday nights playing at some local place around where you live, where you guys can just have a good time, everybody enjoy themselves, do something that you absolutely love, and then go home and then go to your jobs, which is nothing wrong with that. That's equally as cool. We've all done that. But when the time comes that you want to veer away from that, you want to try to make a go at this thing, then you have to be more intentional. Those words that I used earlier, you have to be more intentional. You have to be more targeted. You have to be more specific. You have to make plans, and you have to be, really paying attention to everything that's going on, because everything is a stepping stone to the next spot, the next level, the next location. Right? So you use this as an opportunity by playing extensively to really develop the band. Right? And at the same time, you're going to develop a following. It's not going to be, world changing, but it's going to be good in the region or the location that you're at. I'm going to give you a good example, and I'm going to do this from my own life, and before I go any further, just so you know, I've been touring and playing since 1988. I've toured with national artists as a sideman. I've opened for large bands like, Robin Trower and REO Speedwagon and Robert Cray and, people like that. I've ran 2 record labels, and I've done every little job that you can possibly imagine in this industry. So I have extensive experience in this. And so what I did was I decided, like a lot of people, I'm going to, be a big fish in a little pond for a moment. That's all I wanted, was a moment. Because in the beginning, I didn't realize that I was going to turn this into a lifelong career. I thought I was just going to go out and have fun and play music. But as I did that, as I did it more, as we got better at it, as we started building a following, I realized I really loved what I was doing. And that's when I decided that I was going to make a career out of it. But here's exactly what I did. I began to play anywhere and everywhere that I possibly could within a 25-mile, 30-mile radius of where I lived. And it got to the point to where I was playing at just about any place and every place that was having live music in that radius throughout the week, throughout the month. I would play 10, 12 times a month, 15 times a month sometimes, just in that area, right? I was playing everywhere I possibly could, and I was building a following. And at the same time, I'm developing myself in my band. But then there come the time where it was like, okay, we're really saturating this market. And it's getting to the point, because it gets to the point that not everybody's going to come out and see you every single time you play, because you're playing the same places in the same areas all the time. I mean, constantly, every week they can see you at 3 or 4 different places. And so I decided to take what I did in this community, and I went to a college town, that had a great music scene, and I did the same thing. And through there, I opened up for Luther Allison and Coco Taylor and Pat Travers, and I did shows with Gary Richrath of REO Speedwagon, and I played every place you possibly can in that community. So much to the point to where it was so popular that I was asked to join a band in that community, which I did, because it just helped my own personal level of followers and fan base. And then it got to the point to where that was so saturated that I turned around and I did the same thing at another college town, 2 more hours south of the one that I was just at. And I repeated that. And then it got to the place to where, okay, now I have a number of venues that I can play at. The band is tight, right? I'm at this place where I'm thinking about releasing my very first album, and going about that whole process. And then that's when it dawned on me that now's the time to start playing selectively, right? Because you learn that there are some places that aren't really good for you to play, right? You learn that, you don't want to oversaturate a market. You learn that you can actually start to command more money, because of your popularity and because of, your fan base and that. So I started to become really selective in where I played, how much I played there, and how much I was asking to play there. Now, previously, when I was playing, extensively throughout these areas, as I said, I played every place, and I'd play them as often as I possibly could. If I could get a place to book me 5 times a month, I would play that place 5 times a month. But then I started to dial back, and I decided that I'm going to play those areas twice a year, maybe 3 times a year. That's going to be it. I'm going to get real selective on which one of the venues that I play at. I'm going to get selective on how often I play there, and I'm going to start, asking for more money. And so that's what I did. I played at places that I thought were going to be beneficial to my career. I played those venues that I thought were going to be beneficial to my career. I wanted to play the places just a few times because I wanted people to be excited about coming to see me in those areas, because I already had a fan base there. They already knew who I was. They already liked me, and so, it was something that I knew that I could do well. And so then from there, I had those three areas, and I was starting to play there was all kinds of places in between those areas to where I had a route that I could take regionally, or actually within the state of Illinois, to where I could still continue to play, 8-10 times a month and not oversaturate myself, and also be more selective in the venues that are playing and start to get more money. Because I can recall, like everybody, when I started playing, it was a trio. We got $300, $100 a man. And I remember when we moved up to $500, and then $700, and then $800, and then $1,000, and then $1,200, and then $1,500, and it just continued to build on top of that because my audience continued to grow. The band was extremely tight and very well versed. We were on fire there for a long time. And so I started to reach out and do the same thing in other areas, other states. And so I had to be, and when I moved out, let me say this, when I moved out and I went to another state, I went back to my roots. I played, extensively wherever I could in that area. Like when I went to California, it was like, I want to play every place I possibly can out here that'll have me. I'll take crap for fees. You know what I mean? All I really wanted to do is just make enough to cover being able to do this, because the band was on board. And then it got to the place after doing that, and I had built a fan base, it got to the place to where I could be selective. And then I started picking certain places that I would play, and I started asking for different amounts of money and so forth like that. And it's just constantly built like that for me over the years. Now, I don't command huge audiences. I'm not a household name, but I make a good living doing what I love to do, and anybody can do that. Now, here's the thing. Some people will say, and this is a topic for another day as well, but some people will say, well, that's not success, because success only happens when you're nominated for awards, you're at the top of the charts, you got, whatever, it's like people only, you got a great manager, you got a great agent, you got all these things happening for you. People think that that's success. And it is to some degree, of course, but it's not the, end all be all definition of success. Success is really what, you want it to be. You're the one that gets to make the decision on what's success. Fuck everybody else. Who cares what they think, right? Success is what is what you want it to be. So, if to you, your goal is to be able to play, 5 times a month, and to be able to tour within, let's say, the Midwest region between 4 or 5 states, and you can do that, and you can get, the money that you need, and that makes you satisfied and happy, and you get to go and do what you love, and you've got an audience, and people are paying attention to you, and all that. Well, then that's success. I recently had a conversation with Lips, the lead vocalist and guitarist from the band Anvil. And you're going to want to watch that episode on Guitar Talk, because what I'm about to say is we go into great detail on it. But, on this subject of success, he said that, I don't know if you've seen the video, the documentary on Anvil, but a lot of people view that as these are the things that not to do if you want to be successful, right? Don't be like Anvil, because, that's not what, success is. But if you talk to Lips, and you understand this is a guy who's put out over 20 albums. His band's been around for 40 years, and still to this day they're touring, all over the world. I would say that they have a semblance of success. I would say that they're a successful band, because they're doing exactly what they love. They're doing it the way that they want to. They're getting what they want out of it in the end. They've got a fan base, they're on a label, they're touring all over the place, But people would look at them and say, well, if you're going to be in metal or you're going to be in hard rock, don't do like them. I mean, watch the video and you'll see people, think that way. And so this is my little rabbit hole, about success. People are going to dictate, what's going to be success. But here, and I've shared this in a couple other videos that I've done, you just put the blinders on and you do you. That's it. You do you until people really begin to pay attention, right? So the key to that, in my opinion, when it comes to booking, is play extensively, then play selectively. But be really mindful and conscious of everything that you do, right? Be intentional, be targeted, be focused, and most of all, be professional. Be professional in everything, even from the very, very beginning. Don't be, I look at people like bands that get all excited and it's a big party and stuff like that. And that's cool. It can be that. But, don't be one of those bands that's, sloppy drunk and, cheering beers every 2 songs and, whatever, I mean, people in the audience, they might dig that to some degree, but you got to understand at the same time, you got a brand that you have to watch out for and protect and build. And if that's your brand, if your band is we're a party, well, that's one thing. But you can still be professional as a party, right? In how you deal with people and how you interact with people and treat people and so forth like that. So be really conscious of all those things. Now, some people would say, it's hard to get gigs, and it is right now. This whole post-COVID thing has made it difficult in a lot of ways, but things seem to be opening up more and more, which is kind of cool. But in the beginning stages, you're going to find places that'll let you play. They'll give you gigs, they'll do whatever, and to go back and touch on that topic about not paying to play, that kind of thing. If you want to spend money to play a gig, book a venue yourself and promote your own show. That's a great learning lesson. It's a great way to do it. I have done deals like that many, many times over the course of my career. I've done big shows at, college campuses in 1,500 seat theaters that way. And I've done small venues with 500, bar stools and a pool table. I've done it all myself. I still, to this day, promote my own shows from time to time, simply because, I can control everything. And now I have a decent following that I know what size room is fittable for me, and I know what I can get away with. But in the beginning, you're trying to develop yourself, as I said. Once you get to a place you're comfortable, if you want to do something like that, it's not a bad decision to do that. Look, you might lose money. You might not make no money. But the whole thing is that you're developing and learning. You're developing yourself as an artist and your business mindset, and that don't be afraid of doing those things, because in the end, you don't have to know absolutely everything about this industry, but you got to know a shitload. You got to know a lot, or people will take advantage of you. People will rip you off, people will manipulate you, people will do a lot of different things, and, you want to stay away from those people, and you don't want to be one of those people. So that's my advice for this topic. Play extensively, play everywhere, develop yourself, hone your skills, do everything you can, and soak up all the information and knowledge that you learn along the way until you get to the place to where you can play selectively. Then once you start to do that, it's another learning process. It's more development. If you look at it from that business side of things, from that business angle, you'll do well for yourself in that. And a lot of times people will look at everybody else and try to see what everybody else is doing. But here's a good piece of advice. Fuck everybody else. This is about you. Sure, you might be able to gather some tidbits of information of how other bands are doing their tours and how they're doing things and stuff like that you can weigh against what you're doing, just like the information, that I'm giving you here. But don't try to be them. Don't be them. Do you, right? Figure out your own niche, because that's what is going to push you over the edge. That's what's going to give you, the edge that you're seeking and wanting in order to be able to continue to, move up and move up and move up and stuff. And it's a great journey. It's a great journey. And I sometimes wish I could go back to those early days of just playing the bars and developing myself and stuff like that. I mean, of course, there's a lot of things I would have done differently because I didn't know what I know today. Today's completely differently. Today, I'm extremely selective in who I associate with, who I play with, where I play, how much I make, all the things that make that all up and everything in between. So just take this information and just, let it soak in a little bit, really kick around and sit down with your bandmates or whoever's in charge of your band and, start making a game plan, start charting your own territory, and, be targeted, be intentional, be specific. I can't say that enough. If you do those things, well, you'll do well for yourself. You really will. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a long time. It always does. There's no miracle, solution for being able to do this. The chances of some big record label executive just happening to see you, or, some bigwig manager or something like that just happening to see you is extremely rare. You have to make things happen yourself. So here's how you start it. Play everywhere you fucking can until you build a name for yourself and can move on to another community and do the same thing until you get to the place to where you can be selective. And when you're being selective, make sure you're being wise in those decisions so that, you're not doing anything that's going to be detrimental to you. All right. I want to thank you so much for tuning in to the very first episode of Band Business. My name's Jimmy Warren. You can find out more information about this. Just go to guitartalkofficial.com, the website. It's the website for both shows. And you'll be able to learn more right there. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you'll follow us on Spotify or Amazon or Apple or wherever it is that you get your podcast from. And once again, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Jimmy Warren for Band.